name is Stuart Holly, editor of the Clare Echo newspaper, and I'd like to just start by thanking you all for being here. And thank you all for reading the Clare Echo. I suppose without your support, we wouldn't be able to run events like this, so it's very exciting to have you all here tonight. And equally, I'd like to thank the candidates that have all taken time out of their canvas to join us here for this debate. Anticipation has been building for General Election 2024 in recent weeks, and it looks like County Clare is set for one of the most exciting elections in recent memory. So tonight, we're going to hear from the candidates as we debate the topics that are most important to the Clare constituents. Hopefully we'll have time for some questions from audience members at the end of each segment. So tonight we're going to break it into two segments. So the first half, and at the end we're going to take a couple of questions from the floor, all going well. And then there'll be a 10-minute interval for you to get refreshments. And at the end of the second half, when we have the second batch of candidates on stage, there'll be a time for questions at the end of that as well. During the interval, we'll be selling raffle tickets in support of Cllr Community Hospice. We've got 10 great prizes from local businesses. So please help us raise a load of money tonight for Cllr Hospice by buying a raffle ticket, and you'll be in with a chance with some great prizes there. So we'll announce details during the intermission. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Hotel Woodstock and the Lally family, who have been fantastic to deal with, as they always are. It's a pleasure to deal with them. They're a great family. It's a great community hotel, and they also know how to throw a wedding, which many of us know having been here in the past. I'd like to thank Paul Corey on cameras and Matt Purcell on sound. And I might take this opportunity to ask you all to turn your phones on silent. You are going to be recorded potentially during this, and this is going to go across our social media channels. So if you don't want to be recorded, I would say remove yourself from the room at this point. And we have security in the corner, and they can do that for you as well. Joe Carrick Security, I'd like to thank them for coming on at short notice as well. Finally, a huge thank you to OneBill.ie, who are the title sponsors of this event, and they help to make this possible. OneBill.ie is an Irish-owned company that helps you save money by automatically managing your utility bills, including electricity, gas, broadband, and more. Adam Morgan is here from OneBill.ie. I'd like to just invite him just to say a few short words.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Looking forward to this event tonight, and thanks to the Clare Echo for having us. OneBill.ie, our founding team, is based here in Ennis, and we've built a tool that is consumer specific. And what we try and do is we try and help people save money automatically every single day. We check every single supplier, and we try and make sure that we work for our customers only. And there should be a leaflet on your chair, so we'd love you to head to OneBill.ie and see if we can save you some money by using our AI tool, and enjoy the event. And thanks for having us.
So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to your host for the Electoral Chair live debate, Head of News and Sport with the Clare Echo, Pádraig McMahon.
Hello and welcome to the Electoral Chair Election Debate here at Hotel Woodstock, brought to you in association with OneBill.ie. Clare has a record-long ballot paper for the 2024 general election. The 20 candidates as they appear on the ballot come 29th November are Leonora Carey, Fine Gael, Joe Cooney, Fine Gael, Cathal Crowe, Fianna Fáil, June Dillon, Aontú, Timmy Dooley, Fianna Fáil, Roisin Garvey, Green Party, Kevin Hassett, Independent, Michael Leahy, Irish Freedom Party, Michael Loughrey, Irish People, Amanda Major, Independent, Donna McGettigan, Sinn Féin, Rita McInerney, Fianna Fáil, Matthew Moroney, Independent, Paddy Murphy, Independent, Catriona Ní Chaighán, Socialist, Tom Nolan, Fine Gael, Barry O'Donovan, Rauerta, Eddie Punch, Independent Ireland, Hilary Tanja, Social Democrats, and Violet Ann Wynne, Independent. For this evening's debate, we have received apologies from June Dillon, Aontú, Catriona Ní Chaighán, Socialist, and Barry O'Donovan, Rauerta. Our format is of two halves, where we will discuss some of the key issues that will influence how the Clare electorate votes on November 29th, and each candidate will get a 60-second pitch at the end of their respective half to encourage you to vote for them. So we'll welcome our first panel to the stage. We have Councillor Joe Cooney, Fine Gael, Senator Timmy Dooley, Fianna Fáil, Roisin Garvey, Green Party, Michael Loughrey, Irish People, Councillor Rita McInerney, Fianna Fáil, Matthew Moroney Independent, Paddy Murphy Independent and Eddie Punch Independent. Senator Dooley, we'll start with yourself. Could it be argued that your slogan, delivering for Clare, is a paradox, given that during your time as a TD, the county received two of its biggest setbacks with the closure of the Ennis A&E and the government selling its shares in Aer Lingus, which has resulted in the airline closing its maintenance base at Shannon in 2012, its crew base in 2022, and its plans to shut its cargo facility at the end of the year?
Well, I think if you take the totality of what has been delivered for Clare in the last number of years, when you see the record number and amount of money that has been spent on our sports facilities in this year alone, over 9 million. In addition to that, over 3 million for Cllr. Major investment in the county. You look at what has happened in Shannon Airport, even in recent times, very, very considerable investment in the infrastructure. During COVID, upwards of 8 million spent on the airport in the providing the capacity for the airport to attract more and more airlines, to provide access to routes that don't exist at the moment. If you look at what has happened in the hospital here in recent years, you saw the 50-bedded unit built. I was working and worked hard on that while we were in government and when I was a backbencher TD, when we had the benefit of Minister Tony Cllr at the cabinet table. So I would argue that there has been some very significant investments in County Clare over that period of time.
Investments that outweigh what has happened to Ennis Hospital and Shannon Airport's continued decline. Like this year is going to be the first year it gets close to 2009 figures.
So Paddy, if you want to just talk then about the closure of A&E in Ennis Hospital, which took place or started from 2009 and its fate was sealed in 2011. During that period of time, Tony Cllr and I, as two members of the Fianna Fáil party in government, were provided with an explanation by the HSE that it was no longer safe to deliver A&E services at Ennis. It was made very clear by doctors across the piece, not all, but doctors within the HSE, that it wasn't safe. We were left with no choice. They said it would close, the A&E would close. They were unable to staff the A&E. We fought hard at the time for increased services. We got 24-hour ambulance cover across the county, and we got the new 50-bedded block built as a result of that. The decision was a clinical decision. It was one made by medics, not by politicians. Now, I know that during that period of time, opposition politicians made lots of noise and attacked Tony Cllr and I at every available opportunity. The closure came in 2011, and I don't want to get into the real politics of it, but Fine Gael members at the time and independents argued that it shouldn't close and that they would open it. Soon after it closed, Fine Gael came to power. They didn't open it. The current Taoiseach became Minister for Health in 2016, and he didn't open it either. Because I can only assume that when they entered office, they were provided with the same clinical evidence. They were provided with the same record of failures because they couldn't staff the hospital to a level that was safe. They were probably provided with the same list of people who had lost their lives unnecessarily. So whilst it's sometimes difficult to take the political heat on something that's really important.
So would you describe UHL as safe?
Paddy, you've asked the question now, so I didn't tell you how to ask the question, so please don't tell me how to answer it. The reality is, when you're provided with evidence that shows the number of people who have lost their lives unnecessarily, it's easy to accept that decisions have to be taken. The decisions weren't ours. The decision was not taken in Cllr. The decision was taken by doctors within the HSE that were acting in the best interests of the people. Now, the Centre of Excellence...
Timmy, we are tight for time. I'm going to give you one question. There's a lot of people that need to come in. We have 20 candidates. We have a lot to get through. I'm going to give you one question. Would you describe UHL as safe if Ennis Hospital wasn't?
No, but what
okay,
what
that's fine. Paddy Murphy, you're looking to come in there.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute disgrace that we're the only county in Munster with no A&E. When you look at our geographical location, we're the only county on the whole seaboard of Ireland, from Donegal all the way to Louth, without an A&E. I don't think you can be penny pinching when it comes to A&E and primary care. I don't think it's acceptable that people in West Clare who are going in for outpatient treatments should have to travel 2 hours to Limerick to get and depend on a charity service like Cllr and Cllr or the West Clare Cancer Service to provide transport to them. It just doesn't make sense. So,
Eddie Punch, just to bring you in, you spoke this week to say Shannon Airport has been left behind. What can you do, if elected as an independent, to move forward?
I just want to say that in 2014, early 2014, I brought my late mother, God be good to her, to the regional hospital. And we spent 5 hours in the accident and emergency and a night in the trolley, and she ended up in St. John's for palliative care. And it was obvious in 2014 that the Centre of Excellence experiment was failing and failing badly. And 10 years on, we still have no accident and emergency in County Clare. And there's no point in hiding behind the HSE. This is a country awash with money. And we have one hospital, one A&E between 430,000 people. It wasn't tenable then, it isn't tenable now. In Dublin, it's 1 to 200,000. In the northwest of the country, it's 1 to 150,000. The maths don't lie. And there is no point in saying any longer it's good enough to wait. As an independent, I'm no longer, I suppose, I'm not putting myself forward as one independent. I'm part of a team of independents.
Okay, just on that, so Eddie, to the question.
Yes,
Shannon Airport.
Because Shannon Airport has been let down. Air Rita International, a money spinner, was given away by Leo Varadkar. The Shannon Heathrow slots were given away because Dublin and Belfast were considered more important than the Midwest region. The Midwest has been left behind, and now even this year we have a debate where the former Minister for Finance, now the EU Commissioner, talked about the need to lift the cap on Dublin Airport, who has 85% of the passenger traffic, even though 40% of that traffic does not want to use Dublin Airport. And no mention of Shannon Airport. It's time to get more ambitious for Clare. It's time we had delivery, because without connectivity to the European cities, we have no hope of developing our tourism, we have no hope of getting large-scale investment in the Midwest, and we have no hope of giving hope that your kids that are in college now will find a job in the Midwest, in County Clare, and I think it's time Clare got its fair share.
Senator Garvey, the Green Party have advocated for distribution of passenger traffic for balanced regional development. Why hasn't Shannon seen the fruits of this during government since February 2020?
Well, I suppose if you talk to the Shannon group, they say that we have increased the numbers in Shannon, and during COVID they got 22 million euros from Minister Eamon Ryan to help them fight back. And Shannon Airport is actually doing a lot better than it was a few years ago. And I actually personally, myself along with Brian Ledden, made sure that we have funding in the National Development Plan for Shannon to be the very first airport in Ireland to have a train service to the airport, which I think would be really positive, not just for the airport and the tourists, but also for the people who are stuck in traffic, thousands of them every morning sitting in cars trying to get to work. So, it isn't all bad. And Shannon Airport, as I keep saying, West is best. But it's very difficult. We do have huge regional imbalance in this country. I suppose that's why I'm putting myself forward, because we have to have intelligent, smart people who can take on the challenge of this Dublin-centric, continued Dublin-centric ethos, because even the National Development Plan is giving so much more money per capita to people in Dublin than in the regions. And I suppose that's why I'm thinking that we have 4 voices for Clare, so it's really important we get 4 strong, intelligent voices that can take on that narrative. And I think we have good choices here. I'm not saying I'm the only one. It is really important that people realise we get 4 seats. And to get that regional balance, we need 4 clever, capable people that come up with solutions and not just criticise everything all the time. I think we have to focus on solutions.
Matthew Moroney, looking like Shannon Airport this year is going to hit 2 million passengers for the first time since 2009. What are your plans to grow these numbers further?
Well, I suppose direct more flights from Dublin, being honest. I think if you want to go any place in Europe, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be maybe 200 to 300 euros cheaper to go from Dublin. So I think a cap needs to be looked at on the prices of flights to make it more viable to go from Shannon.
Michael Loughrey, what are your plans for Shannon Airport to increase its use?
To increase its use? Well, I will be looking out for tourists who come here, enjoy themselves, and when they go home, they can say, hey, I had a great time in Ireland. Right? That's one of the things I'm going to do. The other thing is, I'm going to make sure that when people do come in, right, and they're not just immigrants, right, that are coming into the country, because that's what's going on here. When I hear this fella here, this mainstream politician here, what I hear from him is to develop the bleeding airport so we can bring immigrants in and house them.
Okay, I think we're going slightly off topic,
No,
Michael.
it all links up. It all links up. They're not telling you how it links up. It
Okay,
links up.
Rita McInerney on
I
increasing
don't
use
get a
of Shannon
chance to
Airport.
speak, mate.
You did. Rita McInerney, to increase Shannon Airport's use, what can you do if elected?
If elected, I will fight to ensure that the airport gets the services and the support that it needs, because the Fianna Fáil manifesto has committed to supporting our regional airports. However, it's also committed to lifting the cap in Dublin Airport. I currently don't agree with that. I don't think it's a decision that should be made at this stage until Ireland Inc. certainly needs to grow. But until our regional airports grow first, balanced regional development, but balanced regional development doesn't mean development in towns and cities in the region. It means development in our villages and our countryside. And I would take issue with that in terms of how Eamon Ryan sees balanced regional development. So in terms of the airport, we have to develop the regional airports first before there's any mention of lifting the cap in Dublin, because this is exactly what happened with our hospital. In 2009 and 2011, we were promised advanced paramedic ambulances for every corner of the county, 4 of them, to ensure that people get treated within that golden hour. And if those types of services were available on the ground to treat people, we wouldn't have all of those people going into UHL, because the golden hour is so important. And I will fight for that hospital in Ennis. The Friends of Ennis Hospital have done an amazing report in relation to it. It shows that in the Midwest region, we have 1 bed for every 831 people. It is much lower everywhere else. It's the highest in the country by a mile. So that's what we have to fight for in this region.
Councillor Cooney, have we seen enough balanced regional development from Fine Gael while they've been in government?
Yes, we have. A lot has been achieved, and there's no point saying it hadn't been.
On balanced regional development? Towards
Yes.
Shannon Airport?
Yes, we were down at the council meeting in Shannon Airport, I'd say in about 2010, and it was a ghost town down there, in fairness. And a lot has developed since. And my belief is Shannon has not been promoted around the world enough to get more flights coming in here. And that is a serious concern. And that's a serious setback to the Midwest region here in our area. But again, what I was saying is we should look to the future, promote it better, try and get a better balance and get more flights coming into Shannon. And we're well aware the infrastructures in Shannon to take a lot more passengers coming through Shannon. They're already ready-made, and that's what we should be fighting for going forward. And I be a man that looks to the future, try and progress into the future, and that's what's important. And Shannon is vital to our Midwest region.
Okay, one of the features of our debate, and I'll ask Stuart Hawley to maybe go back to his position because we need him for a second, is to do quick fire questions with candidates both on stage and off stage. So the first, we're asking candidates a yes and no is the answer we're looking for. So the first question, and we'll go around to the stage first and then go to our candidates seated off stage. The first question, and the answer is yes or no only, and we're moving on. If elected, will you stop the lifting of the passenger cap at Dublin Airport? Joe Cooney, yes or no?
Elected, yes.
Yes. Timmy Dooley?
Yes, I will try.
Roisin Garvey?
No, because it's not within my
Michael
power.
Loughrey?
Yeah.
Rita?
Stop the cap? Yes.
Matt Moroney?
Yes.
Paddy Murphy?
Yes.
Eddie Punch?
Yes.
And we'll get Stuart moving around. Tom Nolan?
Yes.
Cathal Crowe?
Yes, I will try.
Amanda Major?
Yes.
Violet Ann Wynne?
Yes.
Kevin Hassett? Michael Leahy?
Yes, definitely.
Donna McGettigan?
Yes.
Hilary Tonge?
Yes.
Leonora Carey?
Yes.
And if our candidates that are off stage could sit together, we're not trying to get Stuart Hawley to get his step count up. If we could get you to sit together, it would be fantastic for the next time we go to you. Michael Loughrey, I'll turn to you. You've never lived in County Clare throughout your life. How are you familiar with the issues affecting the people of the county?
What did you say?
I said you've never lived in County Clare. How are you familiar with the issues affecting the people of the county?
I'm aware of all the issues that are affecting everybody. Yeah.
How?
How? Why, just what we're talking about, the hospitals, the bleeding airport, the everything, the tourism and everything. How are we going to have tourism if our hotels are packed with illegal immigrants? How are we supposed to do that? How we can address everything as long as we've got mass migration into the
So
country?
who are you speaking to come
do
across
nothing.
these issues? Who are you speaking to, or is everything you're consuming online?
We say?
Who are you speaking to discuss these issues?
I speak with people on the street.
In Gort?
Everywhere. All
Galway?
over here. I've been out today. I talk with people. I give out leaflets. They're on board with what I say. They're on board with immigration, how it affects everybody. Our kids can't get a house or nothing. That's where I'm at. Immigration affects everything. It affects rents, high rents. Our families can't have children because of the high rents, right? Immigration again, right? Our wealth has been taken from us. We are paying for it. We build the houses. Our kids don't get the keys. Foreigners get the keys. They're in the door. Just
Are we
like
building
that.
enough houses, Michael?
What?
Are we building enough houses?
Listen, there's no end to the building of houses. As long as you've got mass migration, there's going to be no end to building houses. That fella there, Crow, he wants to bring in contractors from Turkey to build 60,000 houses. Who are the houses for, I'd ask you? Are they for us, the Irish?
Okay.
Or are they just for the immigrants, the foreign immigrants?
Thanks, Michael. Just moving on.
Get with it, mate.
Paddy Murphy.
There's nothing for our kids. What do you mean I'm from England?
We'll move to
My name
Paddy
is
Murphy. Okay, Michael.
Loughra. It's an Irish name.
Michael, okay.
I'm the diaspora.
That's
You're
fine.
Are you a racist to me or something? You say English, are you?
Okay, Michael Loughrey, we're just moving on. If we could participate with the debate, it would be brilliant. Paddy Murphy, 70% of Ireland's tourism jobs are located outside of Dublin. What impact have you seen on this for the tourism industry?
Well, we have to speak about Clare. We're all here because Clare is the agenda. And initially we saw 30% of our bedroom stock being given away to direct provision. We all embraced that. It was meant to be a short-term policy. We're into year 3 now. The numbers have gone down by a few percentage, 25% or whatever in the hotels. But what we've seen is a movement into the rental market. But focusing on the tourism issues, we've seen an explosion in Airbnb, obviously, but this has led to major issues with accommodation for staff and things like that in our own area, where a lot of businesses can only open 5 days a week because we're not in the position to provide accommodation and that to our staff.
Just on that then, Paddy, to turn to you as well. Figures released last August show that in 2022, the highest payment for a Cllr accommodation provider for accommodating Ukrainians was the Auburn Lodge, with a contract signed for 3.85 million. The same owners own the 19th bar where you were the general manager. Have you shared your concerns with them?
Oh, very much so, and I'd be very open about it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Ennis people here. The Tradfest was on in Ennis recently, and there was a lot of people couchsurfing for accommodation because there was no accommodation, basically. No more than we've lost Listonbarna, the festival up there. A festival that was going on for 100 and something years. No place to stay. They're doing their best to keep it going, but that energy and spark has gone out of it. You know, we're all very proud Clare people. We're all here because we care about our county, but it's wrong. We are primarily a tourist agricultural-based economy. That's our gig. We give away 30% of our bedrooms. The small businesses, the cafes, the shops, everything, we all depend on that tourist business all year round.
Rita McInerney, turning to yourself, a third of bed nights in Clare are taken up at the minute and not out of use. How can they be brought back into use?
We have to find pathways back to ensure that we have accommodation brought back, and we have to ensure that our tourism industry is strong in the first place, because it cannot be more profitable for buildings to be for accommodation only and for a long-term accommodation and not for our tourism industry. So in order to do that, we need to enhance our tourism industry in the county. That's by supporting the amazing attractions we have in the county and supporting those businesses as well. For example, within the hospitality and retail business, the issue in relation to VAT has been raised. We have to find practical solutions to reduce the energy costs for these businesses and also enable them to employ people all year round with some continuity of tenure, whether it's the training facility, training grant, things like that, to ensure that staff have employment all year round. And it's about developing our attractions and infrastructure so that we do have a shoulder season and we have a long-term season, and that the businesses therefore then will be open all year round, and people have security of tenure, be able to get loans, be able to get mortgages, and the government can do that by supporting businesses to keep people on over the winter period and make the tourism industry more vibrant and more profitable.
Joe Cooney, turn to yourself. You've spent a year as Mayor of Clare, and we see the Cliffs of Moher constantly ranking as the top outdoor visited attraction in the country. Yet it seems to be a lot of buses going directly to the Cliffs of Moher, and we're not seeing the spread county-wide. How can we divide the tourism spend across County Clare?
Well, look, we're all well aware of what's been achieved at the Cliffs of Moher, and to something unbelievable what's been achieved there. And again, that didn't happen by accident. It took a lot of work, time, commitment by staff and everyone involved, and especially the local authority, in getting the Cliffs of Moher to where they are at the moment. The problem is, and I do agree with you, there's bus loads coming down, visiting the cliffs and leaving the county again. And it is unfortunate. We just don't have the bedroom here in Clare to hold those people here. We're well aware as regards the hotels, the situation at the moment. We are in that position now, and it's going to be hard to get out of it over the next year or two. But we do need more beds for people staying overnight in our county. That's vital and important.
And how do we get them, Joe?
Well, how do we get them? It's not going to be easy, and there's no point saying it is going to be easy. We're well aware of the house situation. We're well aware that some of our hotels are tied up in the county at the moment because of the Ukrainians and refugees that have come in and using the overnight stay beds. But unfortunately, it is something that's going to be looked at going forward, Paddy. It's not good enough. We're actually promoting other facilities. We have a visitor centre down in Mount Shannon, in Cllr. We have Bunvashi, and a lot happening there as well. And we want to bring people into the county. We want to have places for those people to stay. But we will have to try and work with the different businesses to see what can be done going forward to hold those people in the county and to make our county a better place to live and to work in, and that's very important going forward.
Roisin, Garvey, how are we going to keep those people in County Clare and keep that tourism spend divided more fairly across the county?
Yeah, there's huge questions to be asked about the current plan for the Cliffs of Moher, to be honest with you, because the plan seems to be to go from 1.2 million to 2 million visitors, and they've paid consultants ridiculous amounts of money to tell them how to make it sustainable. But just because you use the word sustainable repeatedly in a document doesn't actually mean it's sustainable. Talk to the people of Kilfenora, Lisdoonvarna, Miltown Malbay, Ina, Lahinch. They don't think it's a sustainable plan because they just want to bust them in. Or they're saying we'll do a park and stride from Lisdoonvarna and Ennistimon. But that should be a looped local service for all the people to use, not just the tourists, because that's the big problem. And it's caused huge traffic congestion all over North Clare as well. In Killarney, they have a one-way system for the buses. We trialled it this year, finally, after us calling for it for years and years. Like, local people are hugely affected by the very unsustainable model of tourism. And the jobs in the Cliffs of Moher are great, but we want jobs in our towns and villages as well. You know, I think that's really important. And just on a point from this gentleman beside me here, there is 0.8% of the population of Clare is IPAS people. And we had a housing crisis before the Ukrainian war and before the IPAS people came to Clare. So let's not blame them for everything. The last time there was a surge of migrants in the early 90s, we blamed them for taking all our jobs. Now, because we're at full employment, we're blaming them for taking all our houses.
Michael Loughrey, how would you respond?
How would I do it?
How would you respond to what Roisin has said?
So, I'm not happy with it at all, what she said. I'm not happy with what she said at all.
She's quoted facts that 0.8% of the
don't care.
IPAS
It won't be
residents.
8%.
Yeah,
Tell
but you have to care to the facts.
Okay, Parrot, it's like this. It's 8% now, right? It's not like that in other parts of the town.
0.8%. You said you were listening to her, you obviously weren't.
It's not 8%, sorry. It's 0.8%.
I don't care what it is.
10 times less.
It won't be like
that's 8% divided by 10.
Well, you haven't been enriched enough. And that is what you're going to go through in the next 4 to 5 years. You will be well enriched and you're going to know what it's like. The streets ain't going to be safe. They're not safe in Dublin. They're not safe in Galway. They're not safe in Limerick or Cork. Okay, I've been there, and it isn't safe. If you, what did you say?
It's not safe anywhere you are.
Look at that. That's coming from the main street. Look. That's the mainstream for you. The mainstream parties. That's what they do to people. They like to put you down. They want to.
If that's mainstream, I'm okay with it.
I wouldn't listen to you, Dooley. I'd say you're a bleeding liar all the way.
Okay, Michael Loughrey, thanks very much. We'll bring in Eddie Punch, just to respond on the tourism spend.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think Roisin made a reasonably good point about, and this is a bigger trend in government, paying consultants to produce reports. This is a problem right across government. I've encountered it in the agriculture sector. We have it as well with the HICWA report for the decision on an accident and emergency. And it's constantly being used by top civil servants to delay making decisions. And we need for politicians to say, we're not spending any more on reports, we're going to get things done. I think in relation to tourism, it is fair to say that we have had a chaotic immigration policy. Of course, the Ukraine war was a shock to the system, but we have a net immigration this year of over 60,000, and that does, whether we like it or not, have some impact on the housing issue. So I think we need to have fair conversations, not based on extremes of left or right, but fair conversations about how we manage immigration. Is there an upper limit to how many migrants we can handle in a given year? And how we get the balance right. And I don't think people should be afraid or ashamed to have that
Based
discussion.
on the figures that Roisin has provided, and we also
But
said
sure,
a third of bed nights are also gone. So are we somewhere in the middle, or what is your step?
Well, you see, we had 149,000 total immigrants into the country this year.
But in County Clare?
Yeah, but I'm talking in general, right? Because we have a national housing crisis and we talk about producing 30,000 new houses this year, okay? So if we take it at a national level, the total net immigration from outside of the European Union, the UK, which is different, is over 60,000. And that does impact on how we plan for the future. So I think it's fair to have that discussion, not in an extreme way, but in a balanced, rational way. And I think government has been afraid of that. Government has been too focused on getting the pat on the back in Europe and not focused enough on solutions for the people here.
Before I bring Paddy Murphy and Timmy Dooley, have the government been too focused on getting a pat on the back in Europe?
No, absolutely not. We have international and legal obligations, both European and at global level. And when somebody presents in Ireland and seeks asylum, we have a duty to respond to that. We've got to provide them with food.
Okay, let's not interrupt, Michael. Let's go to me.
We've got to provide them with food and shelter, and we've got to process their applications. We've been pretty good at providing accommodation and food and shelter for those people who come and seek the international protection. We haven't been great at processing their applications. It has taken too long, and it has put people in a difficult position because they're here for a number of years. Their families are here with them. And sometimes then you reach a point where they don't get the status that they would expect. And they leave again. Many of them leave again. But they've been left here too long, lingering and waiting. And what the government has tried to do in the last number of years is increase the staffing in that area so that people are going to have a response more quickly. And that they're not left lingering and waiting here for 4 or 5 years without being processed. So that's what's the effort has been tried to be made. The other thing that's put out regularly is that we're out inviting them, that you'd often hear, oh, you bring them to Ireland. Well, we don't. These people come of their own volition. They find a means to get here. Some are fleeing war, no doubt about that. Some are actually trying to make a better life for themselves, and they may not ultimately get the status of refugee. And we have to be straight and honest with them and explain to them that, sorry, you don't make the cut, you're going to have to leave. And that's how these systems work across the world.
Just to bring in Paddy Murphy. Paddy, you've said the driving of a national agenda is impacting on rural services. Is this what you're saying in relation to immigration and bringing people in?
Well, I don't know if I put it that way on a national, well, where they're positioning them and attacking our industry down here. But Timmy said, let's be very clear. 843 people presented themselves in this country without proper documentation in the first 3 months of the year. 843 people had a reason not to let us know who they were, where they were coming from. I think there's something wrong with that. I think there's something wrong when Roderick O'Gorman says the new number for asylum seekers is going to be 15,000. I believe the word is out there that we are a soft touch. I believe the word is out there that there's a medical card and a house waiting for you if you dig your feet in. I believe the system is being exploited. I do believe there is genuine asylum seekers. I have no issue with that. But yes, I stand by that. I believe the system is being
Roisin Garvey, are we a soft touch?
Well, I suppose, first of all, the most they're getting in direct provision is 38 euros a week. They're not being handed a house or anything. So if that word is being spread, it's the right wing that are spreading that word, because that was never coming from government. Let's be very clear about that. There's a lot of falsities being spread, and we're getting accused now of giving them free houses and giving them loads of money. But it's the right wing who are spreading that, and they've actually helped increase the numbers of migrants coming by spreading those lies. Let's call a spade here. Nobody's coming here going, great, let's get 30 euros a week and be stuck in the middle of nowhere in a hotel. Nobody's rejoicing on that. And they're not getting free medical cards either. Let's be honest about it, Paddy. They're not getting, IPAS do not get free medical cards. They're stuck in direct provision, getting 38 euros a week. They're not coming because they're being told they're getting a free house. If they are, it's because there's viral racists on Twitter spreading that false narrative.
Okay, Paddy Murphy.
Just 1 second there. We are a nation of people who have travelled the world. And the further you go away from Ireland, the less people know about Ireland. They couldn't find it on a map. So how all of a sudden are we top of the list when it comes to people looking for asylum seekers? Coming in, passing through.
In the last
Excuse
year.
me 1 second now, let me finish. Coming through 2 or 3 safe countries and arriving in Ireland. There's something not right there. Sorry.
Timmy?
Yeah, but we're not inviting anybody. And the other thing you said, they're coming because of a medical card. Like Paddy, but Paddy.
Don't break it
No,
down.
well, okay,
Tim,
Paddy.
use my two
Okay,
words.
so will we deal it in the totality? No asylum seeker gets a house. End of story. Like, I can't imagine anyone traipsing through all sorts of terrain, taking a small boat across bodies of water where the chance of drowning is great, to get a medical card.
There's no one taking
To get
boat
a
to
medical
Ireland.
card. What?
Coming over from France.
Right.
Being taken and directed. You know what's
Okay,
going
Michael, we'll let Timmy
on
finish
in
his point.
France there, and over
Right.
the English Channel. There's
Right.
boats every day, thousands are arriving. They're all coming into Ireland.
Just,
Yeah,
would
Timmy
you,
will
would you
respond.
maybe get on one of them and go over and go
They're
back?
being escorted over.
You know what I mean, yeah.
Okay, Roisin
We'll escort
Garvey.
you back if you want.
Okay, Roisin Garvey is going to come in here. Cathal will be quiet. She'll get your say later. Roisin Garvey. Okay, Roisin, Cathal, can we stay quiet until they're on? Roisin Garvey, please come in.
I suppose just to base, I usually use I use all my arguments based on facts and figures. The IPAS figures have halved in the last year. Now, in fairness to Paddy, there was an upsurge, and it was because of the British and their policies, and that has actually improved vastly now since we have Labour in government. Let's be honest about it. There was a big increase. You're right, Paddy, but in the last year alone, it has halved. So, I don't know why you even mention medical cards and houses, because neither are true. Sorry, neither are true.
How are they getting treated then?
Excuse me.
Something's wrong with them.
I'm just basing. It's people like you raising issues like medical cards and houses.
Where are they getting their treatment
when
from?
they're-
Okay, let her
when they're
answer the
not
question.
true.
Roisin,
Stop
answer the
shouting at me,
question.
please.
It's not the same place you're getting your treatment.
Okay, Timmy will ease up on the digs if we can as well. Roisin Garvey, finish the point.
No. It's just we have to have intelligent debates based on facts, and the IPAS numbers have absolutely halved. And when people like Paddy, with the best will in the world, mentions free medical cards and free houses, that perpetrates into something that's a complete falsity. And Paddy, do you actually believe that people who come here?
That's their goal. That's
Do you
what they're-
believe that they get free medical cards and houses? Do you believe that?
We give out 100,000.
Do you believe that?
We give out 100,000
Do you believe that
medical
IPAS
cards in this country
Yeah,
without any
you
means.
created-
Roisin, we give out
you created-
100,000 medical cards in this country
Not to
without
any
any means
IPAS
testing.
person, not
And
to
if
a
someone in
single-
this country
not to a
is
single
critically
IPAS
ill or
person.
whatever, the first thing they have to do is be means tested after coming down with a terrible diagnosis. The whole system is crazy.
Not a single person in IPAS got a medical card.
Okay,
Just
I
based
just want to
on
let
facts.
Matthew Moroney, who's been very quiet and cooperating with us the whole time. Matthew, your thoughts?
I suppose what's forgotten about here is the biggest sector to suffer during all this is the small and medium businesses. while the hotels have closed down, not accepting people coming from tourism, they have suffered dramatically. And I think that there should be more provisions made for the housing and the provision of modular homes. So when people come in from the different countries, that we have someplace that they can go without clogging up our tourism sector. We've seen recently coming in, a lot of them was handed a tent and they were allowed to go down by the canal in Dublin, and that's, that wasn't alive for them to come into either, so the provisions weren't there for them. We weren't equipped for it.
Okay. Rita, just on the rising pressure of pressure on small businesses, you're running a small business in Doonbeg. How big is that pressure becoming for small businesses to stay in survival?
It certainly is, and I suppose the increased cost of doing business in energy and in inputs is huge. And similarly, like the farming community experience a lot of the same pressures. The energy crisis is something that we need to tackle from a cost perspective for businesses, and also in terms of our the pay-related expenses. Everyone deserves a decent day's pay for a decent day's work, but the business community can't be expected to bear all of the brunt of that cost. And we have a beautiful county, and we can expand our business from a retail and hospitality perspective. I suppose as a county councillor, I propose that we have a visitor pass like they do in a lot of major cities. The Clare County Council have started with that initiative with the Cliffs of Moher, Loophead and Vandelore having a one pass for all of their of tourists, that they can buy one pass to deliver to visit all of those. So that's in turn will share that travel of tourists all around the county. But we need to be supporting our villages through active travel and through supports that enables our villages to grow and have that tour space as well as retail.
Just on active travel, now that you mentioned it, are we seeing enough benefit towards rural areas in 2024?
Certainly not. It was pulled from more of the villages, more towards the towns, and it's something in Clare County Council we've been fighting for very actively, because an issue that has come up a lot, and it comes up frequently, is traffic management in our towns and villages, and the speed at which traffic goes through our villages, and just the simple things of how older people and children get to school is a huge issue.
Roisin, active travel?
Yes,
is it helping rural Clare in 2024?
There was zero funding for active travel until the Greens fought tooth and nail with Fine Gael in fall to get funding for active travel. That's the first thing. Sorry, excuse me, Rita. There is no cycleways in Clare because County Council have failed completely on that front. Okay, so we won't talk about cycle lanes, and for a minute I'll just get angry. Secondly, we have put millions of euros into Dooley, Bodyke. We brought in the Safer Routes to School, which has been useful in Bearfield, in Mullock. Lots of rural infrastructure.
And Rita McInerney's question that it's not going in, it's only going into towns now.
Well, Clare County Council are not getting the money down to introduce those safe access to routes to school, to introduce the pedestrian crossings and the footpaths that we need in our towns and villages.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm going to have to disagree with you, Rita. Sorry. So just last week, Mullock and Bearfield were given about $250,000 each, I think, to make sure that those towns.
Only two villages.
Sorry,
very important.
There was no Safer Routes to School, and Fianna Fáil never asked for any money for Safer Routes to School. I was one of the people that designed the Safer Routes to School programme, so I can stand over this. So it's great now that we've started doing Safer Routes to School. You're saying there isn't enough of it, but you never asked for it. I asked for it, I got it, and we want more of it.
Timmy, why didn't Fianna Fáil ever ask for it?
Well, Fianna Fáil have consistently provided money for safe passes at school. I know when there was an issue over in Mount Shannon a number of years ago, we got funding so that there was a pedestrian lights put in. It was always done in tandem with the council. But let's not forget, the council have plenty of their own resources on occasion, and they're well able to spend money on their pet projects. And we do need to put a bit of a focus back on expecting the councillors to identify safety issues, whether it be in Bodyke or Mount Shannon or Mullock or anywhere else, and that's well within the capacity of the council to deal with it. We have developed now, and yes, for sure, Roisin and others in the Green Party would have pushed it, the idea of a national programme, because we weren't seeing the consistency coming from councillors. And it's often the case that councillors will put the charge, oh, we're not getting the money from Dublin, but they'll be spending the money on other pet projects. Councillors are given an allotment of money every year. I think it's, Joe, you'll be able to tell me, a councillor is given 45,000 € to spend on whatever whatever pet project that they want.
Joe, just
so
to let you
I
in.
would suggest if councillors have issues with that, they identify the ones in their area and they spend it on it.
Joe?
In fairness, active travel was vital and important to rural areas. And there was good work done a number of years ago. But as Rita said, she did right. A lot of the active travel funding now is gone in towards the urban areas for cycle lanes and whatever the case may be. Okay, they need to be upgraded, but we cannot forget the rural parts, and that's what's happening here a lot of the time. Rural Ireland, rural Clare and rural parts of the county have been forgotten about. Again, we have major issues with traffic speeding through villages and towns. We are having a fantastic project being delivered below with the Cllr Bridge crossing and bypass. Simply fantastic. Now we're trying to get funding to slow the traffic coming through the villages on the regional roads. Active travel was vital and important towards that in the past, but now we need to get other funding, or else extra active travel funding to make sure that these villages and towns are made safe, not alone for the people living them and using them, but also for the people travelling through them. It's important and vital. Active travel was major to rural parts, but unfortunately the urban areas now are gaining out of it.
Roisin, you've heard from two councillors there that have said 2 of the 28 that are sitting on Clare County Council and they're not happy with how active travel is in
well, the
2024.
county councils should ask, because I actually got funding for 5 full-time staff for Clare County Council to work on active travel. They were originally going to get 3, they have 5. But I bet you neither councillor know what the qualifications of those 5 people are. They've got nothing to do with active travel. So what they've been doing instead is spending loads of money on consultants. And what they should have done was hired people who are experts in active travel, behavioural change experts, urban designers, walking and cycling infrastructure experts, but they didn't. And not one of you have ever mentioned that as an issue. And instead, for one cycle lane, and they haven't built a single cycle lane in Clare, the one cycle lane on the Cllr Road, they've paid $500,000 to consultants to design it. And now they're going back to the drawing board. So I'm sorry, councillors, you want to get with the reality of what's happening on the ground with regards to active travel. Tell me the jobs of the 5 people in active travel. Do you know what their qualifications are? You don't know. But then you're giving out to me about it's my fault for active travel. Quantity surveyors and road engineers. And the whole reason we have traffic jams outside schools is because we have road engineers designing for cars, not for kids, not for older people.
Please, the money isn't there.
Roisin, I see your point.
We'll let Joe Cooney in.
It's important when you go do something, you do it right. There's
Exactly.
no point going spending money.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah. And in fairness, it's your point.
Yeah.
But you have to bring in engineers.
And the
you
other
have to
thing
bring
is-
in consultation has to go on and all that
Yeah,
work
but
needs to be
also-
done.
We'll let Joe
And
finish,
neither-
Roisin, we'll
and
let Joe.
safety is vital and important. And we're all well aware of the amount of people that have been killed on Irish roads in 2024. We want that to stop, and we want to make our places safer to live and to enjoy.
So
Just to let Rita McInerney respond before you come back in to what has been said on councillors not questioning enough regarding active travel.
We certainly have been questioning on active travel, and we're looking for more resources.
Officers in our council, you didn't know. You didn't know what they did. So how much questioning were you asking if you didn't ask what the hell the active travel team have been up to?
We
have been
didn't
up to?
have. We were informed
5
that
staff
there
for the last
wasn't
4.5
enough.
years.
There wasn't enough funding there because, as Joe says, things need to be designed.
There was 5
but
full-time staff.
Okay,
the
let her
staff have a
reply,
job
Roisin.
to do, but they need money. They need a budget and money to actually implement it. Then
Yeah, they had the budget to do it.
it's not there. The
Yeah.
budget is not there. It's not coming
There
down.
isn't enough of funding
It's-
coming.
it's-
Roisin.
But
There's
it's-
no
they're
point
getting
saying there is.
Roisin, the point is
I'll give you
that
another
when
example.
when our executive staff go looking for that funding, they're refused if it's for a village. That's the reality.
So how come
It's-
Dooley
it's
is getting work
granted
done?
If it
And
gets,
Muddle?
it's there's
And
active,
Bodike?
that's active schools.
Doolin isn't
That's
active schools. Doolin isn't active schools.
But that's one project. There, as I said, there is a lot of villages around our
Yeah,
our
I'm fighting for
county.
as much money as I can. I have done from the very
And we have
beginning
to.
for active travel. But
Exactly,
another
but we have
point,
to get more money for
none
active
of you,
travel for
like,
all of our
no
villages.
councillors have objected to the lack of active travel around the Cliffs and Moher strategy either. That is all about cars and buses. I was the only one that was objecting to the current plan because they've done nothing about fixing that disgraceful footpath there between the Scanner
There
and the
is
Inch.
a new bus service going in.
Yeah,
This
I'm not
summer.
talking about buses. I'm talking about active travel with regards to tourism. The Fáilte Ireland agree with me on this. The slower you move as a tourist, the more money you spend in an area. Yet there's zero plans for walking and cycling development to get to Cliffs of Moher. It's still all about buses and cars. And they bus in and they bus out and they spend less money in their towns and villages. Why aren't you crying out for active travel as part of the sustainable development of the Cliffs of Moher if you're so worried about active travel? They've done nothing about walking or cycling the Cliffs of Moher, zero.
We're going to turn now for our first Q&A from the floor, and the mic is with Stuart Holly, who is going to have a few questions from some of our audience members.
My name is Brian McCarthy. I live 5 minutes up the road. Given that the highest court in the world has just issued an arrest warrant for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, what are you going to do about Shannon Airport being used by the US military, who are actively supplying weapons to Israel, who are committing crimes against humanity in Palestine and Lebanon?
Matthew Moroney.
I don't think that any weapons or parts of weapons should be going through our airspace, to be honest. I do understand that troops have to stop off as a stop point for refueling and all that. That's another issue, but as it goes on weapons and weaponry and all that, they shouldn't be going through our airspace.
Eddie Punch.
Yeah, I think we have an agreement with the USA for the transit of US soldiers through Shannon. It's been there for a long time. Unfortunately, you know, the neglect of Shannon has meant that for a good few years we're actually dependent on that business, being honest about it. But I think we have to make sure that we enforce the elements of the agreement that says this is not to be used for the transport of weapons for war.
Timmy Dooley.
I think the agreement that's there, whereby other countries who seek to bring anything of a military nature through our airspace or through our airports has to be upheld. Where breaches are found, then we need to ensure that it's fully investigated and there should be repercussions. Because I think it is a disgraceful situation. It's what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in the West Bank, what's happening in that region. We have to protect our interests, and we've made it very clear that we as a society, we as a country, don't tolerate the movement of military assets, either through our airspace or through our airports. There's a level of diplomacy that needs to be involved, but when it's made clear that something like this has happened, well then we've got to bring sanctions to bear, I think.
Joe Cooney.
My belief is there is no weapons being moved through Shannon Airport. That's my honest belief. Again, look at Shannon is gaining by what is happening as regards the military movement, but the weapons are not coming through. Again, we are well aware that we're trying to promote Shannon. We don't want to promote it the wrong way. That's one thing definite. But again, there's a lot of staff down there. There's a lot going on as regards the flights that's going through Shannon. All above board is keeping people employed, but as regards weapons and military, my belief is it's not happening.
And just how have you come to that belief, Joe?
Pardon?
How have you come to that belief?
What should I say? By going through information I've looked for and information I've received. That's how I've come to that belief, that it's not happening.
But information regarding from staff, or have you made queries? Because it hasn't been queried at Clare County Council level.
Yes, I did query it and I did get
With
information
staff?
on it.
With staff?
With the airport.
Okay. Roisin, Garvey, just to answer Brian's question.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I mean, I don't know, Joe, I don't trust the American Army. I don't trust the American government. I think officially they're not applying to bring weapons through Shannon, but I don't think that means it's actually necessarily true. It means because they aren't applying currently, we're not allowed to inspect, and that's why I've been working on legislation to be allowed to do spot checks of planes, because I have lost all trust in the American government and in the American army and the disgraceful behaviour and the supports they're giving Israel, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is something really important. I also think that if we work hard on fighting for Shannon Airport, we will not need to rely on American soldiers, because I was involved in the anti-war movement and doing protests against the use of the airport as a neutral country for American soldiers going off to war in places that we don't agree with. But I was told, well, we need the jobs in Shannon and we need the money. But like, that's not resilient. That's not ethically right. So if we can really work as a group of people who are elected or not elected for our county to get Shannon Airport back on its feet, which it is doing really well, we can tell the Americans to back off with their soldiers and their military aircrafts. And I think that's what we need to do.
And just since entering politics, have you left the anti-war movement?
I've just spoken completely.
No, but have you protested
at
at Shannon Airport since the war in Gaza?
I have been down there at a couple of protests, not recently, no.
Since the war started?
Since the war, yeah.
Okay. Michael Luke, you just answer that?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, right, we've got to remember that on October the 7th, the Palestinians took about 12 to 1,500 hostages from the, on the border, took them over there and raped them.
On the question that Brian McCarthy had asked, please.
Okay, what I'm going to say is this, right? Whether or not there is weapons being exported, through Ireland to the Middle East, that's another thing. But I will say one thing.
Are you answering the question?
We are making ourselves a target.
Okay, thanks, Michael Luke. Paddy Murphy.
I believe that what's going on in Gaza is a land grab and a genocide. And my conscience tells me when I see those military planes in Shannon that there's more than just the airplane there. And we should be checking every plane that comes into this nation.
Back to Stuart Hawley with our second question from the floor.
Good evening, I'm Eugene Drennan. I'm 5 minutes down the road. I'd first like to address Roisin in our cycle lanes. It's a shared platform. The roads are a shared platform. You don't need bollards and destroying the vista of any town or village to keep people safe. Drivers will try to be safe, and it's the excise out of cars and from fuel that provides a lot of the infrastructure of this country. And the singular ideology of the Greens against the car users, we need them in rural Ireland. Just because the public servants or the seniors of Dublin can cycle to work on their hobby horse. The rising statistic in Dublin is the bicycles knocking down pedestrians. So it's a shared platform.
We'll let Roisin Garvey respond to that, so.
I 100% agree with you. Bollards are a joke, and there's some really badly designed infrastructure. The one cycle lane they did outside Flannan's is an absolute joke. It's a comedy among people who design cycling infrastructure. Secondly, I'd like to say that we've never said you can't drive cars in rural Ireland. I drive my car a lot of the time because I live 5 kilometres from the closest village. So you can say we're against cars, but that is just not true. We're just trying to give people more choices. It's okay to give people choices around public transport, around driving cars. Like for me, I won't be getting public transport from my house ever. So I won't be giving up my car anytime soon, nor am I asking anybody else to. So I'm going to push back on that rhetoric because it's jading, to be honest with you. I have never said, and neither has Minister Ryan, even though people keep saying he said it, he never said you cannot drive your car in rural Ireland. He said people in rural Ireland deserve more choices. And actually, since we got the local links in, which I fought tooth and nail for, we see a 700% increase of local link use here in Clare. And Killen Griffey has done a great job. And the girl in Limerick, Clare and Limerick Local Link, have done a really good job. And listening to older people and their demands, and listening to teenagers and their needs. And we should be very proud of what we've achieved on Local Link, because we haven't just focused on the car, and that's okay.
We'll go to Eugene.
Half of that, she didn't listen to my question. She actually accused the others of not answering a question. I said, you're against people trying to use their cars. I didn't say you wanted them to stop.
I'm not against people using their cars. I answered that question.
Yeah, the green
I'm nothing against
ideology.
people using their cars.
My question is about Shannon, and it's mainly to people who are from parties. If there's a move to remove the international status, air international status from Shannon, and in case somebody needs to know this, it's per capita in Europe, and we don't have the capita, really, for 2 international airports. One is Dublin, one is Shannon. Shannon was the first. It means that you can take in the international flights. You have to man it 24 hours. You have to have a lot of services around it. But those services then lead on that Shannon Airport is of a status to attract more business. And if there's a move to remove the international status from Shannon, because Europe isn't that fond of it, and Dublin isn't that fond of us having it, will you vote against your party, vote against the government if you're a government party supporting it, and put your vote and your feet with the people of Clare?
Joe Cooney.
My vote and my feet will be to people at Clare.
Timmy.
Yeah, the same. Now, first of all, I know of no proposal to remove the international status. I've never heard of such a proposal. But I can assure you, if it was a government decision to be taken to remove the international status from Shannon Airport, I would vote against it every day of the week.
And Rita McInerney.
Certainly, we've the longest runway in the country in Shannon. It's a hugely important airport, particularly for transatlantic flights if there's emergencies. I couldn't see that being happening, But if it was to be proposed, I'd certainly be voting against it, yes.
Matthew Moroney.
Yes, I would be against it as well. Yeah,
Paddy Murphy.
Yeah, when the Heathrow slots were taken away from Shannon, I didn't see the political parties in power kicking up too much.
Eddie Punch.
Yeah, like the evidence is that time and time again, when there has been a clash between the interests of the main political parties and the interests of Shannon Airport, the political parties' interests have prevailed. That's the facts. And that's one of the reasons I'm standing. I am so frustrated at the way in which Shannon's interests have always taken second place to the Dublin demands, and I see no evidence of that changing anytime soon.
Michael, in response to Eugene's question then.
You know, all this should have been done a long time ago. You know, we've had booms and busts, and all of a sudden now we're talking about the same old thing that is dragged out for years, and it just goes on and on and on. It's up to these people. They're the ones who run the damn country, right? I'm here trying to sweep the bleeding place a little bit clean, because there's nothing but corruption coming out of their mouths. They get nothing done really that really helps us, and they cause more problems than is necessary.
Okay, just moving on then, Roisin Garvey, former Green Party member Barry O'Donovan said this week to the Cllr Echo that people don't give a damn about green politics right now. Today, you described climate and biodiversity as the existential crisis of our time. For a party where its fundamental core is green policies and green politics, why can't you engage the public?
Do you know
No, that's gone to Roisin Garvey. Unless you join
I'm the Green Party member.
I know you are, but I mean, like, I thought you was asking me a question about green politics.
Yeah,
It's a load of bollocks.
Okay.
There's nothing green about them.
Roisin, let's answer the question.
So, can you just go over the question again there? Sorry again. So, you want me to ask, what's the question?
Why are the public not engaged with what the Green Party are going to do if, as Barry O'Donovan says, prediction that the people don't give a damn about green politics right now?
I think that's an insult to the public. I think they're very engaged. I meet tidy towns all the time that are working hard, hand over fist, to improve biodiversity of their local towns and villages. That's a fact. I think when I go to the doors, people are worried, genuinely worried about nature.
So will people put green politics at the top of their agenda? As we say, you've 12 TDs at the minute. Will green politics be at the top of their agenda? And when people go to the ballot, will they say, I want a green and vote number one?
Everybody's agenda or just some people's?
The public.
I think it's up to the public. They have a choice. They have loads of choices. I'm not telling them they should all vote green, but I think we do need some green voices. And we need people who actually get the crisis. Clare is the second most vulnerable county in the country to flooding and coastal erosion, and that's just a fact. Our farmers' land is absolutely saturated. They're dealing with flooding issues all the time. Excuse me. We didn't invent climate change. The climate has changed. While we were debating whether it was true or not, it actually has changed. And that is the reality of it. And I do think green policies aren't just about climate and biodiversity, even though it's one of our core beliefs. And that's okay. That's a really important thing, because we all live in nature. So it includes water quality. It includes clean air. We have huge air quality issues in Ennis. These are all things that affect people's everyday lives. And when I go to the doors, people want warmer homes. We brought in the retrofitting programme. People want free insulation. We have 80% grant for
So they remember
insulation.
when they go to vote November 29th and they'll vote number one green.
I think it's, we try to get people to boxes in, we're all about
But just if
not
we're to
driving
get you
cars.
outside the box, so you've 12 TDs at the minute.
Yeah.
Will you have more than 12 TDs after November 29th?
Oh, I have no idea what's going to happen, because there's a lot of rhetoric around independents doing better, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael going back into before, the Greens get annihilated. Personally, I think that we have a good chance in lots of different counties. I think I've been given a good shot. I'm going to give it my best shot. But whatever about a green voice, we need strong voices who are going to be honest and face up to the reality of what people of Clare are facing. People want warmer homes. People want cheaper public transport. People want clean water. And these are things I believe really strongly in, and I will fight for. And I will fight for Shannon Airport as well, because it actually makes much more sense to spread out the population, spread out the tourism regionally. And I've been saying this for years. West is best. My father invented Clare tourism. He got it off the ground, and I'm carrying on that legacy. I have firm passion for getting this county back on its feet. But as a maths physicist, I am genuinely worried about what's coming down the tracks. We've seen it in Middleton. This is not 10 or 15 years away. This could happen in Ennis, it could happen in Doonbeg, it could happen up in Doolin. I have really huge, genuine concerns based on the
Timmy
science
Dooley, okay,
of
you've
climate
got to
change.
speak. Timmy Dooley to bring you in. No, we'll come back to you in a few minutes, Michael. Potential for Moneypoint, Timmy Dooley with Green Atlantic can generate €3 billion and create thousands of jobs for West Clare. Yet the government have prioritised East Coast of Ireland for DMAPs. Why have we not prioritised the West Coast?
Yeah, but that's underway, and there is a commitment now to get the marine area of protection designated.
But why?
Off the West
Back to
Coast.
the question: why has the West Coast not been prioritised yet again?
Well, can I tell you?
Yes,
My understanding is that there has been a shortage of suitably qualified people in the country to carry out that work, and they started on the East Coast on the sand shelves and the sand-based one. The more complex one is the floating offshore turbines, which will be well out into the Atlantic, and that's coming next year, and it's scheduled. And you're right, it has massive potential. I and others have worked really hard over the last number of years to make it a priority. The ESB now have a project in place, and there are other international investors who are prepared to invest very significantly. It will have huge implications for West Clare, positive in terms of job creation, but much more importantly, and we talked earlier about balanced regional development, this really has the capacity to balance development between the East and the West Coast. But what it will also do, in addition to creating jobs in a sustainable way, it will help to decarbonise our entire electricity grid. In addition to that, it provides the capacity for us to export electricity onto the European grid. It provides the capacity through electrolysis to convert to hydrogen and ammonia. Also, from those chemicals, energy can be stored. It also then provides, and there's a lot of work going on in UL and in Trinity College and in others, about creating sustainable aviation fuel. And that can be part of the offering of Shannon Airport into the future. So rather than looking at just the traditional ways, we can look to new ways to grow and develop activities at Shannon Airport.
Just bringing Councillor Rita McInerney, you were shaking your head when Timmy said there's a lack of suitably qualified people for the DMAPs to be prioritised off the West.
Because in Clare County Council we have made that offer to the Department of the Environment to work with them, because we have experts in their field within the council that will do that. I honestly believe that it is political will. Yes, it's a more difficult ask with floating offshore, but the view is that it's going to the southeast, the east, the southeast, and then the south. And if there isn't political pressure brought to bear, because we need it in the Midwest, it's the number one priority of the Shannon Estuary Task Force is to have that DMAP. And I believe strongly that it's political will that will get it. We have to move on. We have to make sure that the West Coast is the next DMAP and not the south, because we have the expertise and we can do it. And unless we fight for that, Moneypoint will be left behind. It is performing very strongly at the moment in terms of the transition, but we need to move on to the next step to make sure. We've already seen that companies have left because of the slowness of the process. We need to get Mara working in terms of the planning, but we all need to pull together and ensure that the next DMAP is the Midwest, to ensure that we have a vibrant economy here.
Just sticking with you, Rita, as well, just on the potential of West Clare. Just on West Clare's potential, you're part of a very male-dominated party in Fianna Fáil, so if you are elected their TD, are you the most likely of the three candidates to be elected to ministry?
I would hope so. I suppose I obviously, any role that I would take, if I am fortunate enough to be elected, I will do it with all of my strength and passion for the people of Clare. And I, obviously, as someone who lives and works and employs and plays in West and North Clare, that's the area that I understand the most. But I am sure that, you know, the needs of the people is what is paramount. And I have a lot of experience in terms of business, in terms of community. So whatever role the next government, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I will take it with gusto.
Timmy, speaking this week to the Cllr Echo, the Tánaiste said that there's no guarantee if Fianna Fáil elect two TDs that there'll be a minister of the two. So are the Clare public better off voting for another party if there's no guarantee, even if they do elect two Fianna Fáil TDs?
Well, Paddy, as you well know in politics, there's no guarantees ever. But if we want to have the best shot, in my view, at having a minister in the county, and we've been fortunate in the past where ministers have been appointed from those that were elected in Clare, it has helped to advance priorities in a real and meaningful way. We've seen so many developments over the years when we had somebody at the top table. If we have 4 backbenchers, yeah, we'll bring the delegations to Dublin, we'll meet ministers, we'll put our case, and we'll come home with our tail between our legs, hopeful that we'll get our way. Wouldn't it be nice to have a minister in the inner circle? Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody at the top table, man, woman, or whatever, from whatever party, so that we can advance those priorities? It's my view that if Fianna Fáil elect 2 TDs on this occasion, it gives us a real shot. No guarantees, absolutely, but it gives us a shot. It gives us our best shot. No different to Brian Lohan when he went up to win the All-Ireland in Croke Park. He picked what he thought was the best team. And it's now up to the electorate of Clare, for them, in their wisdom, to pick what they think is the best team to secure a ministry. There's still no guarantees. You pick the best team on the day, there's no guarantees, no more than there was for Brian Lohan. You have to put the effort in afterwards.
Eddie Punch, we've elected independents in 2016 and 2020, yet we speak here today, services aren't really improving, so why should Clare again go for another independent?
Because this time we have a plan for independents to work together, and that's really important. And now we provide a real alternative to a return of the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Green-led government. And I've been watching the three or four representatives here tonight having a row with each other all night, and I'm worried that they're not going to be coherent if they come back together, and I think that's why we should have change to bring back common sense and to fight for Clare's interests. And it's really interesting that Rita talked about her frustration at the dilly-dallying around Atlantic wind energy. She's spot on, absolutely spot on. If only she was in government. Hang on, she's representing the government parties, who have yet again prioritised the East Coast and the South Coast. And as for the availability of people to do experts, to drive on this project, the reality is they've left Ireland because they were frustrated at the incredibly slow pace and the prevarication by, it has to be said, Eamon Ryan in advancing the big opportunity for
Timmy
Atlantic
Dooley
wind
quickly,
energy.
A very quick response, Timmy.
Thanks for that, Eddie. But have you met anybody in the ESB on this, Eddie? Have you gone back to Moneypoint and have you seen the plans that are currently going through the planning process to develop the project? So let me just explain something to you, if I can.
Can we just get Eddie to answer that question that you've asked him first, and I'll come back to you. Have you met people in the SB about Moneypoint?
I have, and I've met the Shannon Estuary Task Force, and I've read the entire report.
Perfect, we'll go back to Timmy. Yeah, we just wanted one answer, Timmy.
So
we'll go back to Timmy, Eddie.
So you'll also then know, Eddie, that the first phase of wind energy was done onshore because it's the cheapest. The next phase of wind energy was on where you could fix the wind turbine to the base at sea where there was shallow water. The third piece is that's floating into the Atlantic, and an amazing amount of work is going on that at the moment. So yes, the ESB are exploring and they're putting in the wind turbines on sand shelves in the Irish Sea at the minute, and in also shallow waters where they can fix it to the bottom. So that's a natural progression. The next one has to be, and is, the floating offshore. And there's an immense amount of work. And yeah, there are some people who are saying it should be done quicker. And I'd like it to be done quicker. But I know the plan that's in place. I've sat with them. I brought a conference here to Ennis back in February, brought over the Commissioner for Energy to visit Moneypoint. Rita asked you along on the day, and others came along on the day, to see the plans that are in Europe and the value that the European energy market sees in capturing wind to generate electricity for the market. So it is without a doubt a viable project, and it will happen. But we do for sure need to progress it, but there's an amazing amount of work already done and underway, and I see the timeline, and anybody that has any doubt about it, sit down with the ESB. They have built projects all over the world. They're about the brightest and best engineers
thanks,
that are
Timmy.
out there, and I have great
just turn to Joe Cooney,
in
just to turn to Joe Cooney. Timmy mentions Brian Lohan. They say getting to the Dáil is playing senior hurling. So you've been on Clare County Council for 20 years, in politics for 20 years. Ordinarily, if it took a player 20 years to make the breakthrough for Brian Lohan, there'd be questions asked. So what makes you good enough now to go to the Dáil?
First of all, I want to support the offshore. I was trying to get in there, Paddy, the offshore wind farms, and they're vitally important. And what's been proposed around East Clare at the moment, with 7 wind farms in different locations, from one part of East Clare down to South East Clare, people are not happy with what's going on. We all want to see the offshore. There's a lot of friction down there between communities, families, and whatever the case may be, whoever's involved. But the offshore is vital and important. A lot of headway has been made in the offshore. I do have to agree with Timmy on that. It don't happen overnight. It is going to happen. We need to speed it up. But my belief is, yes, it'll happen sooner than later.
And back to the question.
As regards the question, yes, I've been representing the people of the Cllr for the last 20 years. We've fantastic work done in the Cllr and also in other parts of the county where all councillors support each other in fairness. I don't have to highlight here what has happened in Clare over the last number of years. My belief is, if I'm elected to Dáil Éireann, I'll represent the people of this county the same as I've represented the people of the Cllr over the last 20 years. And if I can achieve doing that in the term of the next Dáil, I'll have a lot achieved if I can get elected on the 29th. But if I get elected, I will do the same as I've done in the past. And what that means probably is, no matter who comes to my door, no matter who contacts me, I'll do my best to deliver what I can for the people of Clare and for the county of Clare.
Roisin, Garvey, just turn to yourself on the next issue. A solo run from Minister Eamon Ryan to axe the Limerick Northern Distributor Road, the LNDR, had been in development for 20 years. It was a move described as illogical at the time. Are you in favour of the LNDR?
So just to come back to the first
Could you answer the question, Roisin? We're very tight for time. Are you in favour of the LNDR?
Answer the question you asked them, but talk to the LNDR. So first of all, we have to look at the current design, and it was just going to be more space for only cars. So we wanted to go back to being redesigned because it has to include bus corridors and walking and cycling paths as well.
Are you in favour of the project?
Not as it is, no, not as it currently is.
So if you get back in government, it may not happen?
So just to say, there's a couple of issues I had with it. First of all, it makes absolute sense to do anything we can to reduce traffic congestion. That's the first thing.
So just to the people of South Clare and parts of Limerick that say this project is really beneficial to them,
yeah,
they meet Roisin Garvey, she's not going to get it over the line.
None of the landowners are in favour of it.
But the people that are in favour of it,
yeah,
are they wasting their time voting for Roisin Garvey then?
No. What I want to I'm telling you, I think the design is poor. It doesn't allow for.
The design elements are in there. They're in
There's no walking or cycling infrastructure.
Cycling is in there.
No.
Paths are in there.
No, there is not. Not on the ring road.
So a different design has gone to Fianna Fáil than has gone to the Greens?
So on the ring road itself. Pardon?
A different design has gone to Fianna Fáil than to the Greens?
No, the current design is just car-centred only. There is a bus corridor, but there is no walking or cycling infrastructure. And what I would say is that it's really important. So I think some people think we're going to take from the fossil fuel car to the electric car, and that's the problem solved.
Okay, now we have 60. Each candidate is going to get 60 seconds to give their pitch, and it will be 60 seconds only, no more, as to why you should vote for them on November 29th. So we will go in alphabetical order as they are seated, and we will beginning on my count, Councillor Joe Cooney, 60 seconds.
As a long-standing member of Clare County Council, a former chair of Clare GA, a proud Clareman, my dedication to serving the people of our county is central to everything I do. I fully support the restoration of the A&E services in Clare. A fair share of aviation business for Shannon in national policy. Increased funding for council to invest in housing and local road network, which is vital and important. More support for our farming and tourism sectors. And a greater investment in our family carers, our schools and community health services. If I say I'll do something, I will do it to the best of my ability to achieve same. I'm asking you to vote for Joe Cooney on November the 29th.
Thanks, Joe. Senator Timmy Dooley.
So, having narrowly missed out the last time, I'm asking you for your number one or highest available preference to secure that second seat for Fianna Fáil. Winning 2 seats matters in my view, because if Fianna Fáil is in government, supported by 2 seats in Clare, I think we can rightly expect to have a minister in the county. Now, when Clare had a minister, as I said previously, the priorities of our county were advanced much more quickly. And the big priorities for me right now are the continued expansion of Ennis Hospital, the delivery of 50 beds that have been promised for there and expansion of services, the construction of a new Model 3 hospital with a full A&E in the county of Clare, changes to aviation policy to secure and ensure that Shannon Airport gets its fair share, support for our traditional farming families, increased building of housing, which we all know is so important, and the delivery of that major expansion at Moneypoint, generating electricity from floating offshore turbines out into the Atlantic Ocean, ridding us of the blight of turbines on land.
Thanks, Timmy. That's 60 seconds. Senator Roisin Garvey.
So I suppose I've learned a lot in the last 4.5 years about how national politics works, and that really helps you to continue your work then. If you look at what I've achieved in the last 4.5 years, my third week in I got rid of the need for planning permission for solar panels, which has enabled 1,000 houses a week get solar panels on their roofs. I fought for free solar panels for every school in Clare. I made sure the leap card was available to every single person in Ireland through the local post office, instead of having to go to Dublin or Cork to avail of a 30% discount. I made sure that all people under 26 got half-price transport, not just students, because I know lots of people don't all go to college, and they all deserve half-price transport. I made sure we got funding for DigiHubs through my pre-budget submissions. I made sure there was a grant for small businesses to get a free energy audit and a €10,000 grant to help them bring down the cost. So I suppose I have delivered. I believe as a TD I could deliver more. I care passionately about my county. I have no plan of never leaving the place. We have the best little county in Ireland, and I think we need 4 strong voices to get all we can for our county, and I think I deserve to be one of those 4 voices.
Michael Loughrey.
Yeah, I would. Well, I've only been in it a week, so give me a chance, right? And with our party, that is a fledgling party now, you let us in, and we'll make sure that what we do is going to be done for the Irish people. It's us first, and I'm going to prioritise Irish people above all other immigrants that come into this country. We're going to get the keys to the door, and we're going to get the respect, and we're not going to be second-class citizens in our own country. And I ain't going to listen to any of these people because they're all talking a load of what's name. And it's just doing my head in. Listening to this one, for instance, from the Green Party, I've got to say this. If there is such, she mentioned erosion in the seas, and they're hitting the, they're eroding the cliffs and everything. And yet we're building very expensive buildings in Galway, in Cork, where they're on the sea. What if there's such a big climate?
60 seconds. Thanks, Michael Loughrey. 60 seconds, thanks very much. Turn to Councillor Rita McInerney. Okay, Michael, we'll let Rita get her.
I've got my education.
Okay, Michael, thanks. Councillor Rita. Okay.
You're laughing at me.
Okay.
I'm an Irishman.
Okay, Michael, can we stop? We need to get, each candidate has to get their pitch called. We'll just leave it. Okay, Councillor Rita McInerney, 60 seconds.
I'm sure there are many people across the county who are still undecided as to who they will vote for next Friday. It's a decision that you as voters will consider carefully and should put a lot of thought into. So why vote for Rita McInerney? I'm not a career politician. I qualified with masters in both entrepreneurship and politics. I worked for 13 years as CEO of Ennis Chamber, and in more recent years running my own business in Doonbeg. I understand the challenges that everyone faces every day. I face them too, and I meet people like myself every day in the shop and in my community. I know what the pressures are for everyone in today's society. Our farmers with the red tape, the parents' cost of childcare, as well as for our carers. I also know the area that I represent as a county councillor, the west and north of the county, needs representation, as does all of Clare, and it needs it now. Rural Ireland is being left behind. This election is an opportunity for the people of Clare
Thanks,
to
Rita
vote
McInerney. That's 60 seconds. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Matthew Moroney, Independent.
I believe it's important to keep an independent candidate in Clare. When you look at the housing, the health and everything, when you look at different counties where there is strong independence, they don't have the same problem as we have. That's why I think it's very important to keep an independent candidate in the county. And if I am elected, I pledge to work with whoever the other three TDs are, because I think unless we come together on the big issues of health and housing and infrastructure for building and everything like that, then we won't get there. we need a unified approach to get to these things done. And that's why I'm asking you to vote for me, number one.
Paddy Murphy, Independent.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I'm standing for election because I believe the political establishment in our country are promoting a national agenda that has led to the erosion of basic services in this county, and that the policy has had a massive impact on our livelihoods and quality of life. I'm speaking about the health service we have with no A&E, second lowest county of GPs, in the number of GPs in the country, no primary healthcare. I'm speaking about immigration, tourism, law and order, transport. I believe we're being discriminated in this county, and I think the people of Clare deserve better. Thank you.
Eddie Punch, Independent Ireland.
For 25 years, I worked as General Secretary of ICSA, fighting for farmers here in Clare, farmers right across Ireland, in Dublin, in Brussels, in the Oireachtas, and with senior civil servants. And now I believe I can bring that experience to fight for all the people of Clare, for the things that I believe in and the things I believe you want fixed. Accident and emergency for Ennis. Listening to the shops and businesses in Ennis that have been sidelined in terms of the Ennis 2040 project. Standing up for the parents of children with special needs who can't get the assessments they need and can't get the early intervention when they need it. Taking care of the mental health needs of our teenagers, which is already an absolute mess. Standing up for Shannon Airport and for balanced regional development and delivering more for Clare, because I think it's time.
That's 60
Clare
seconds.
got
Thanks,
its fair
Eddie.
share.
That's 60,
Vote Eddie
60
Punch.
seconds, Eddie. Yeah, great. Thanks very much. That's part one of our first panel now wrapped up. We'd ask you to support the raffle that will be going on at half time. It's going to be a brief 10-minute half time to get our next panel back on and ready to go, and we will see you very shortly.